Unfortunately for our liberal friends, the issue of English identity just won't go away. On the back of Fraser Nelson's ridiculous rhetoric on the Trigonometry podcast recently, where he embraced the magic soil argument, that is, if you're born in England, you become magically English no matter your ethnic background, absolutely everyone is offering their opinion on the nature of Englishness. Here's everyone's favourite leftist, Owen Jones. He states, reducing Englishness to genetics isn't just sinister, it's meaningless. Unfortunately for liberals like Owen, they've got themselves in a bit of a bind here. First of all, the English are very much an ethnic group. You can cry about that if you like. It's not sinister, it's not meaningless, it's just a fact of life. The English are, broadly speaking, a Germanic ethnic group. We go back to the Anglo-Saxons. Yes, there's some other Germanic admixture, such as Normans and Vikings, and a little bit of Celtic and so on. Now, this doesn't mean we have any innate animosity towards any other peoples. It's just who we are, in the same way the Bantu are an African group, or the East Asians have Denisovan DNA. Secondly, if genetics really are, quote, meaningless, then leftists like Owen Jones can give up their support of Palestine. After all, they're just aimless people in the desert with no connection to anything, aren't they? Yet through the leftist lens, a homeland actually matters for the Palestinians because they are, quote, ethnic. Ethnic equals diverse. Diverse equals good. But through this same leftist lens, Europeans are denied an ethnicity. We can't be trusted with such a thing because of Hitler or something. This is why Rory Stewart, the ultimate conservative LARPer, who's essentially just a leftist liberal, believes the whole conversation is, quote, far right. Yet leftists are in a bit of a bind here, because if they're supposedly about equality, they simply have to acknowledge the European ethnic groups just like they would any other. But liberals can't acknowledge European identity because that would be far right and undermine the multi-culti magic soil world view. And this exposes liberalism for what it really is. It's not about equality, it's not about the truth, it's an elitist utopian idealism that guts out real people and real cultures, whether they're European or not. This is why when a Sangeeta Miska, I believe she's a TV presenter of some description, states this brown Hindu, East African Indian, British Londoner is also English, get over it, we can't quite get over it. Now that's because Sangeeta is obviously ethnically Indian. She's not ethnically English. It's nothing personal. I don't hate her. I'm sure she's a nice enough person and she's civically British and so on. But you don't get to undermine our ethnic group because liberals thought that mass immigration would be a good idea. It's nothing personal, as I say. It's just the liberals lied to you. Now this could all be swept under the carpet when the English were the dominant group in England, but when you have our major cities like London, Birmingham, Leicester, where we're a massive minority now, obviously questions are going to arise about the nature of Englishness. It's why liberals like this guy don't get it. He states, it's ridiculous, isn't it? We seem to have gone back 70 years. Sangeeta replies, indeed we have. Now we haven't gone back, we're just being forced to acknowledge reality. The liberal utopian delusion is over. After all, who would look at this footage on your screen right now and say, yeah, that's a group of English people walking down the street? If we're to state that, then people have no roots at all. We're just simply material vectors waiting to be filled with ideology. This is why I stated in a video recently that liberalism is fundamentally inhumane. As a traditionalist, I believe that God is the ultimate. Spirit comes first, then our ethnicity, our culture, our tradition, then our material basis. Now, I believe this gives the human being full dignity, spirit, heart, soul, and matter. But liberalism simply plays in the field of materialism. It's why it's so easy, despite its marketing of tolerance and love and inclusion, to see human beings simply as exchangeable economic units with no real roots. Yet because of their utopian elitist ideology, leftists can only conceptualize this as far right, and they don't recognize that they're becoming inhumane themselves. People matter. Groups matter, culture matters. Now even the woke themselves are open about this because they know they won't be cancelled or made a social pariah. Here's Trevor Noah.
I think part of the reason Finland is able to do it is because, have you been to Finland?
It's very homogenous.
I've been to Finland. You know who's in Finland? Finnish people. That's it. That's it. And because they're all Finnish, there's an idea of like, no, we all head in the same direction. Mm-hmm. We all know what our actions mean. And that's a really powerful thing I've learned in communicating with other people. When I'm in a room with anyone where we start to tie together multiple things. So if I'm in a room with black people, already there's like an implicit trust because we know what certain actions, words, and vibes mean. And then you're in a room with another African. Already. Now, even if you shout at me, I know what your shout means. The same way an Italian knows what an Italian shout means.
Yeah.
On the subject of Italians, I had an Italian flatmate during my time in London, and I am archetypally English. I was raised in the middle of the country in Leicester, and my paternal line goes back to Dorset, and my maternal line goes back to Yorkshire. Now, I noticed, even in my family dynamic, that I inherited the southern gene. I like peace and quiet. I find it nourishing and healing. However, my northern side of the family are very much talkative and friendly. As anyone who's been for a walk in the north in the countryside knows, if you get chatting to a stranger, they'll treat you like family. They'll tell you what they had for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Yet northerners have got nothing on Italians. When my Italian flatmate would have his friends over, I'd think they were actively fighting, but in reality they were just gesticulating and passionate about coffee, pizza or a woman they saw walking down the street. Now, noting this through the liberal lens, I'd presumably hate Italians, but of course I don't hate Italians at all. I think they're great. I just know that I'm English. I prefer to be in English environments that are more quiet and peaceful. And this brings me back to the core point. Peoples have an ethnicity, a nature, a way about them, and it's not about enmity at all. It's a beautiful part of life. It's what makes peoples, cultures, and different geographical regions interesting. Yet when we deny these deeper elements of our humanity and try with this glitzy multicultural marketing about tolerance and love or something, we diminish mankind into a materialistic mush. We eradicate a fundamental dimension of life itself. So despite the noise, it's a good thing that the West is waking up to these fundamental truths of life. We're going to have to reframe how we understand these issues. That's of course a mission of mine on the Substack. I'm aiming to build a community there for men looking to align with tradition and transform themselves first. Do check that out down below if you're interested. I'm holding a free call on Saturday if you'd like to attend actually. On top of that, do let me know your thoughts and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new.